Happy belated birthday, Nancy.
Oh, awesome.
Happy birthday.
And just like that, we're live on Tuesday night for Talk Time with TJ Triple T, number 223 on April 7th, 2026. My name is TJ Zebel. I like to say that I'm a professional problem solver, which I always follow up with, no, I don't know everything. In fact, I know there's a lot that I don't know, but I do have a unique way of asking questions, help people get to the solutions they are looking for. I want to thank you all for joining in. We're live on YouTube as well, so I get to say hi, Mom, up in Minnesota. And we got Nancy, who recently did one more big trip around the universe, and so we get to say happy birthday, Nancy. Whoop, 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 whoop. And for those of you that are watching on YouTube, I'd appreciate it if you'd do me the YouTube favors that don't cost you anything other than a few clickety clicks. Click the subscribe button, ring that bell so you know when we're back on the air. Find some videos you like. Please hit the like button, leave some comments. I would love to read your comments. And share these. I don't do these obviously to make the coin, but I just want to get the information out to help as many people as possible. So if any of these ring a bell with you, then I would appreciate it. Mike is out there as well. Hey, Mike, appreciate you. And yes, you guys are going to see I had another comment. Yeah, your eyes are all over the place. Well, I've got a 50-inch TV as a monitor right here. And so I got people there, over there. The comments are up over there, and I've got a surveillance system that over there. So squirrels everywhere. Let's see. I also have a website I'd love you guys to check out. You can find it at www.thettswb.com, thetallskinnywhiteboy.com, and that's he and he and I and all the above. Been that since way before the internet. Hey, Michael. And so if you find anything else on the internet for TSWB that is not me, then don't look at it. It's not what you want to see. Stay here, check out the website. You're going to find out a lot of information on things I get to do. I am so blessed. I get to help people with depression, anxiety, phobias, PTSD. I get to help business owners with corporate coaching, and got a lot of people coming to me for relationship challenges. Funny thing, yeah, relationships. It's a human thing, and that's what we've all got in common, is that human aspect. If you go to the About Me page, there's a little button there that you can click on that will give you a PDF of some of the things that I have been blessed to be part of in my short time here on this floating rock out in space. It's been quite a life. I also offer a free 30-minute consultation. That's your opportunity to get a hold of me for 30 minutes at no charge. We can go over some of the challenges you're up against, and if I believe that I can help you, I will let you know. But I also promise you, if I feel that we're not a fit, I will let you know. I don't want to waste your time or your money. And I will do my best to find somebody that can give you the results that you're looking for. And stuff. And all of that. Now it's time to move on to introducing the tie of the week. Been doing this since our first episode in 24. So tonight, once again, I got a little Pooh on my tie. Pooh with his favorite thing, the honey pot. For all you Pooh fans out there. And had somebody else call me up, I think it was Wednesday last week, said they were threatening to send me some more ties. I said, okay, bring them on. You send me a tie, I will feature it, and you can let me know if you want to take the credit or not. I have no problem. I appreciate it. I'll add to the collection. But we're in the next section. Who's got something cool they want to share from the last time we were here, 7 glorious days ago? Anybody got some cool stuff they'd like to share with the crowd? Yes, no, maybe so. Sometimes no news is good news. I've had those weeks where it's like, wow, I actually got to breathe for a while. Nobody? Well, that's interesting. Cool. Quiet week. For those of you that are watching for the very first time, tuning in, or watching the recording for the very first time, the way this works, it's a 2-hour show. First hour, I do my best to get through 3 topics that I've come up with. And then the second hour, we change gears a little bit, and it's open mic, open platform. Anybody on the call can bring up a topic or ask a question, and I let the people on the call answer first because I like to learn as well. So if you're out there watching the recording or watching on YouTube, come and join us. No charge. And we would love to hear from you, hear your questions, help you with anything we can. It's kind of like a mastermind session. So looking forward to having some more of you in the near future. Other than that, it looks like it might be time to roll in. Last week for episode 222, we made it through 2 topics in the whole 2 hours. It was really good. We had a lot of interaction. So let's see what we can come across tonight. Tonight's topics are presence, foreburners, and transplants. So, sounds like it's time to get going. Presence, and I gotta admit, I was a little torn on how I was going to spell that. Because there's presence and then there's presence. And I did it that way on purpose. Because sometimes, for some people, just your presence is a present. And being present while you're with them is an even bigger present. And I hear this a lot, especially in the relationship clients that I work with. A lot of their past relationships were missing the presence. And I'm not talking about Christmas time or during birthday. They had somebody there physically, but trying to keep that person there mentally, intellectually, conversationally was the challenge. They could tell a lot of times, even when they were talking, that the person they were talking to wasn't really there. How many of you have been in a conversation and you felt like you could just as well be talking to the wall. Or a step above, you could be talking to your dog or your cat, because the person that you were talking to was not talking with you. I've even had a couple of times where, just to prove the point, I'll stop in the middle of a sentence and go, "Don't you agree?" And you watch the look on their face, they're like, "What?" I said, "Well, don't you agree?" Well, uh, yeah. So that's interesting. I don't. I've never found ketchup that tasted like mustard. What? Yeah, you weren't listening at all. What's on your mind? Well, nothing. No, I was listening. So you agree that mustard tastes like ketchup or ketchup tastes like mustard? Well, no. Then why did you say you agree? You weren't listening. And for those of you that have been around Planet TJ for a while, you've come to know about the trifecta. For those of you that are new, the trifecta, without going into a big class about it, is what I consider the most important part of conversation ever devised to this point, being echo talk, 3 magic questions, values and criteria elicitation. When you master those, the conversations just are different. They force you to listen to people, to interact with them, to talk with them, not at them. Lenora.
Hand to God, did not plan this, but I totally agree with this. Something that I think is equally as important is recognizing that you have to be present with that person. And I think the biggest thing is people dismiss what they prayed for at one point, what they wanted at one point. They wanted to be around whomever. Maybe it was a friend. They wanted a best friend, and now all they do is they dump on their best friend. Or they wanted a significant other, and all they now do is dump on their significant other. People forget that you're in it. You're so in your life that you have no idea how in your life you are. So
Yes.
you're not present in the moment. You're too busy thinking about the things that you're complaining about that were in the past or that are in your life at the moment or in the future. But you're so focused on what you don't want that the beauty of being alive and the beauty of being in rapport with another person is so easily dismissed. And I would have never known it had it not been for anything in the personal growth world or anything in the communication world or anything in the having a deep conversation beyond the weather.
Yes.
People love to talk about the weather. It's beyond me. I have no idea why.
Yes.
Guess what? It's going to stop raining and then it's going to rain again. I guarantee it. Someday, somewhere, it's going to rain again. Like, we need to stop talking about the rain. But that's what I wanted to add about being present. You can be present with somebody, but you can be so present in the complaining and in the unhappiness that you forget that your present is what you prayed for at one point in your life, is what you wanted. And that is a very sad thing that people focus a lot on their complaints rather than being present in the gift that is life.
1,000%. And I always got to let you guys know, for those of you that are watching on YouTube or watching the recording, you don't get the pleasure of seeing the comments. And Elijah put in a great comment of listening is a big part of talking. Listening is a major part of conversation. Mark.
I was just going to say that something we talked about last week, overthinking. And if people are overthinking, they're kind of in their own head rather than, listening to, and you can't do that if you're going to do echo talk. You have to actually pay attention to what the other person is saying.
Yes.
So that was kind of my 2 cents, relating it back to last week's, when we were talking about overthinking. And I think sometimes people, and if you're going to be present with somebody, you got to be in the moment, and you can't be in your own head.
Yeah. And it's kind of like the difference between being the driver and the passenger in a car. If you're a passenger and you can relax with the driver, the things that you can see along the journey are amazing. But just because you're the driver of the car doesn't mean you have to miss the scenery. You can still enjoy the scenery and still be present in the driving. Holly.
This reminds me of, so when I was younger, there was this scripture that I read that says basically, for anyone who giveth a gift, if you don't give it with real intent and you give it grudgingly, it's counted as if you didn't give the gift at all. And as a people pleaser, oh my gosh, that pissed me off because I was thinking of, and I will say too, the way it's written, it definitely could apply to the gift of your time as well, because it goes on to talk about how this applies to prayer and, some other things too. But yeah, because it was like, wait, you're telling me I just spent, 3 hours listening to this person, or, I put all this effort into giving this gift that I really didn't want to give at Christmas, or, whatever it may be. And it doesn't even count because that was the most painful gift I had to give. But the things it has done, first of all, it makes me think, if I'm going to be here, I want this to count. So I really need to make sure that I either am going to bring the intent, or if it's not going to count anyway, and I know this is not probably where it wanted me to go, and I've grown since then too, but if it's not going to count anyway, what am I doing here?
Right.
So, but the other thing is, if you're in a place where you're being asked to just give and give and give, and the reason you're checking out is because you just don't have capacity to give anymore, that is a sign that you need to put up a boundary. That is a sign that too much is being taken from you. And so it's better to say, if I give, I'm giving for real. If I'm present for real. And if I can't be that, I'm not going to sit here and pretend. I'm not going to sit here and people please. I am going to draw a boundary. I'm going to express a need. I'm going to do whatever it is my system's calling out for. Because it's not fair to them. It's not fair to me.
Yes.
If I'm sitting here pretending to give something that I am resenting every second that I'm giving.
And I'm so glad you brought that up, because I know. Okay, that was a mind read. If any of you on this call have never checked out while somebody's talking to you, like Charlie Brown's teacher, raise your hand, let me know. If that has never happened to you, you've never been in a conversation and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I missed it. I didn't.
I'm sorry, TJ, what did you just say?
Yes, exactly, right? Yeah. And that's the challenge sometime of being around poor communicators. And we can do the best we can to try and be a proper listener. But we're still human, living this human experience with stuff going on. And we have these voices in our head. And I'm not talking about the funky, crazy, oh my gosh. But we also know that there are times when somebody can be talking and squirrels will show up. Yes, and for those of you that have no idea what I'm talking about, that's the da-da-da-da squirrel. And my squirrels have squirrels who know squirrels, who bring squirrels that are related, and they're bringing squirrels they're not even related to. They just bring the whole forest with, and I'm like, and it can be a major challenge to try and keep focus on the conversation. But I know we've also had those people that are such amazing communicators that when they start talking, kind of like the old ad back in the day when E.F. Hutton talks, and everybody's like, whoosh. Yes. And I think we all want to have that effect on people, but that's also a skill and environmentally controlled and dependent on the company or the people in the area. Mark.
Yeah, I had a situation that I think it was the second time at Hypno Thoughts. I had gone to this seminar and I was exhausted after 3 days of Dr. David. I was sitting there and I was supposed to do this induction, the one where you start wrapping your fingers around and you start, and then when the fingers touch, you go into trance. And I was working with this English gentleman and I said, I've never done this induction before. And, but I was so exhausted that sometime during the induction, my pilot light went out. And I was gone, but and I came back, the pilot light relit as I was bringing this guy out of trance. And he said, I don't know why you thought you weren't good at this. That was one of the best inductions I've ever heard. And I was like, what the heck did I say? Because my conscious mind just, the pilot light went, and again, sometimes, like you said, when you're tired, it's a lot harder to give people that attention. But I was like, that was an incident where my pilot light I was so exhausted that my pilot light went out. So, but evidently, my subconscious must have learned it really well because he said that was one of the smoothest ones he'd ever heard.
Yay!
Oops.
Elijah.
So, I have been told many times that people like listening when I speak. And I'm not sure I entirely believe it still. There's a little bit of, insecurity
It's
there
true.
or something, right?
It's true. Just saying,
But-
it's true.
But I have been told many times by many different people and from all around the world. And so I was wondering if it's all right with you, could I give you guys a quick tip on how I do it?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, I'd like you to try, if you would, to speak in a way where you pause regularly, kind of like how I am now. And sometimes I might say a whole bunch of lots of words in between the pauses, and others, maybe just a few. But as you can hear, and I'm sure you've been hearing for a few moments now, the pauses come at somewhat regular pace. right? That is your first exercise,
Yes.
okay? Learn to pause when you speak. Because the thing about the pause is, it kind of gives everybody a moment to process what you just said before you say the next thing.
Yes.
And on top of that, because you pause regularly, you create rhythm. And when you create rhythm, it's almost like a little bit of a lullaby effect where you're kind of like singing to a baby and having them kind of drift away. So practice that. I do have, when I teach this, I teach like 4 or 5 different levels of this exercise, and you get to a point where like everybody just zones out when you speak. But that's the first step. The first level is just learn to pause regularly, slow yourself down, and really, you know, if you need to emphasize a certain part, just be present, not only in listening to the person and absorbing what they're saying, but be present when you're speaking also, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
No, thank you. I appreciate. Yes, and it's interesting watching people who are so afraid of silence, trying to converse with people that are, you can tell them because they're the ones with all the fillers, and well, and then we after that we went to and it's like it's even harder for them to tell the story because they're thinking so fast on how to fill in the pauses instead of just letting the pause land. Lenora.
I was going to see if Elijah could see what else or share what else the brain loves, because he said very specifically that it loves, I believe he said rhythm. But what else does it love, Elijah? He does such a fun beat.
Oh, the unconscious mind loves rhythm, repetition, repetition, and rhyme. The unconscious mind loves rhythm, repetition, repetition, and rhyme. The unconscious mind loves rhythm, repetition, repetition, and rhyme.
I swear to you, you slay it at 2 a.m. if you hear it enough. Thank you, Elijah.
And what a present. The present of presence. And I read a thing on Instagram. Yes, I get a bunch of stuff from there now that I'm kicked off Facebook. But it was a story about a guy that worked at a convenience store, the graveyard shift, and watching people come in silent. And they would come in and they're looking at the floor and they'd pick something up and they wouldn't say anything. And he said one night this guy showed up and he bought coffee. And I don't have the story memorized, but the guy the guy that was working handed him the receipt, and the guy that bought the coffee said, "Would you write something on the receipt for me?" And the clerk was like, "What?" He goes, "Just so I know I was here." And I think the guy said, wrote on there, "Have a good night," with a smiley face. And the guy that bought the coffee said, "This is the first time I've talked to somebody in, what was it, like 3 months?" first interaction I've had with somebody because of what he was going through. And when he left, the guy was like, what the? And he started noticing the people that were coming in at 3 a.m. And so he just started writing on all of their receipts and handing them to them. And some of the people started opening up. And one person, you're the first communication I've had in I don't know how long, because I went through a divorce, and this is the first time and so he started introducing them to each other, and all of a sudden it became a gathering place for these people that had no place to go to talk to people. And he told his boss about it, thinking that the boss would probably blow it off or scoff or laugh at it or something. And the boss decided to put a bench out in front of the store and wrote on it the 3 a.m. club. And yeah, cool. It was a cool story. And it became the gathering place for all of these people that just had no place to go, and they had the present of presence for people that needed that place. And sometimes that's the best present you can give somebody, even if it's just for a couple seconds, couple of minutes, whatever. Saying hi to that person that is quiet or seems awkward or whatever, or compliments. We've talked about this many times, that even in this day and age where it seems like trying to give somebody a compliment is risky business, I don't care. I'll do what I call my flyby compliment. I try to compliment as many people as possible, even if it's for half a second, especially for you ladies, because oh my goodness, trying to give you ladies a compliment in this day and age. Well, what do you mean by that? That your hair does look nice. That's it. That's all I got. Your hair looks nice today. I just happened to notice it from 3 aisles away. Just wanted to let you know your hair looks nice. I'm gonna go now. And so, yeah, I've done quite a few of the flyby compliments, because you don't know what people are going through. I've had those days. Yes, I get those too, where I'm feeling quite dark. And somebody will say something nice and I'm like, wow, that's what it feels like. And sometimes that's all it takes to switch that day. Lenora.
I think one of the biggest eye-opening things that this conversation, this ongoing conversation of being able to talk about the things that are going on in your head and work with a coach or work with a professional, I think one of the biggest things that opened my eyes is that people really are thinking about themselves, appropriately so, more often than you'd think. They're not thinking about you. They're not thinking about that person over there. They're not thinking about that person over there. They're too busy thinking about themselves. And in recognizing that, when we go out to the store, and I used to get really wrapped up in this, and I was very cautious as to like, this person's over here, or oh, what are they thinking of me? What are they thinking of me? Rather than recognizing they're not paying a freaking clue to me. Not at all. And they're in their own world. They got their own problems. They got their own thoughts and everything else that's going on. So especially even when people are going out and having conversations or worried about what people are going to think, part of me wants to say, don't worry about what they're thinking. Who cares? And the other part of me is going, trust me, they're not thinking about you. No matter what you think, they're really not. Maybe, okay, fine, 1 in 10. But for the most part, they're thinking about themselves. And I heard a great reel right before Triple T, and it might be for hour 2, but I think at least it still applies. You're not here to be understood. You're here to understand yourself. So stop worrying about what people think.
Amen.
And just the way that they had said that, you're not here to be understood by others. You're here to understand yourself. Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So even as you go about and about your day, and I think it's something that definitely comes thankfully with age. The beauty of getting older is people really aren't thinking about you. Like, let it go. You thought in high school people don't give a crap. And recognize that you can still be kind, and you can also recognize that if it's not received the way that you had intended, it has nothing to do with you. I love the one by Abraham Hicks, and I'll be done after this. Love this one. People will love you and people will hate you, and none of it will have anything to do with you.
Yes. 110,000%. Yes. And I love when people are like, I saw the way she looked at me. Okay. The other person in the aisle, what were you thinking about them? No, what? The other aisle over, when we were walking by, there was a person in the aisle. What were you thinking about them? Who? Exactly. You didn't even notice them. They weren't even thinking about you. Don't make it all about you. It's not all about you. You have no idea what they were thinking. In fact, you could have been standing in front of the one item that they were thinking about buying, and you got in the way, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, they're looking at me. I hate to break it to you. They were looking at the ham. Holly.
Gosh, I'm getting so many quotes I'm going to have to put up around my house to read daily from all of this. Thank you, all of you. Just a couple other thoughts. So first of all, one of the biggest presents that you can give to somebody else is also receiving their present properly.
Yes, thank you. Woo!
And just another thought of, it is true, Dr. I don't know if you say Amen, however you say his name, but he talks about how you spend your younger years worrying about what everybody else thinks about you. Then you get older and you realize that you could not care what they think about you. And then you get older than that and realize they were never thinking about you at all.
Yes.
There's definitely truth to that. But there's also another truth that how many times are people thinking great things about you? And the reason I bring that out is I just remember there was somebody who came into an area and into a group, and she was just paranoid that we were all thinking horrible things about her. You could tell based on some things she was saying, and I was just like, what are you talking about? Every person in this room adores you. And that was kind of the moment of it hit me of, oh, how many times have you walked into the room thinking everybody was thinking horrible things about you? And everyone in the room, maybe they adore you too. So it's not just that they probably aren't thinking something negative about you, but if they are thinking about you, probably 75% at least of the time they're thinking something amazing. And if you could just see yourself through their eyes, you would be amazed at what they're able to see in you.
Yes, yes. And thank you for bringing up part of the present is how you receive a present. Oh my goodness. I think in this day and age, we have all seen the videos of the ungrateful present receiver, especially during Christmas. And my blood boils. I want to climb right in through the television into that home and just, are you kidding me? I wanted the other Xbox. I wanted a blue bike. No, I can't say what I want to say because we're in 2026, but I know what would have been said when I was that age. Right, Mom? Love you. Thank you. And I mean that. Thank you for making sure that I received presents the right way. Mark.
Yeah, a couple thoughts. Again, people have said to me, "Oh yeah, that person in Cumberland Farms, they were looking at me." I said, "No, probably not. You're just not that important. Neither am I. You know, that's the essence of paranoia, thinking you're important enough that people would be thinking bad thoughts about you."
Yeah.
But the other thought was about, giving somebody a present. I like to make people feel good. And if I see a beautiful woman, and I've done this enough so I don't hesitate. So I walk right up to them. I'm not drooling at a distance. And I say, "Excuse me, pardon me." It's just that, which is pure process language. It's just that you're absolutely stunning, or your outfit is absolutely stunning. And I just had to say that.
Yeah.
Have a nice day. And usually they light up like it's Christmas morning because they
Yeah.
spend a lot of time on their outfit, their makeup, whatever, to look that good. And I just want to make their day. And I say, I'll say that you look absolutely stunning today. And I just had to say that.
Yes.
Have a nice day.
Yeah.
And, you see them smile and you kind of know you made their day because they spend so much time to look that good. I've had, a woman behind me in the line, grab my arm. No. Again, she didn't want the conversation to end. I was like, no, I just came from the beach. I look a mess, and I'm like,
Yep.
it's okay.
Took the gift and set it on the ground.
I just wanted to say you look stunning, and I just had to say that. And, I was, I'm always amazed that, if you couch it the right way, like I said, and using female process language, it's just that you're absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
And usually, like I said, again, I like to make people's day. I like to make people, feel good about themselves, and all the effort is actually noticed. So I don't have a problem. The first time I did it, my heart was hammering so hard, I thought, the other person could hear me. But they smiled, and I just walked away, and I'm smiling because I felt I just made their day.
Yes. And
Every time they retold that story, I probably got better looking, but, the woman I did it to the first time, she was Portuguese, and every time she retold that story during the day, I got better. Probably by the end of the day, I looked like the Portuguese George Clooney. Every time she retold it, I got better looking. So, but I made her day, and I was like, that was my total intent.
And when it's authentic, the energy lands so well. And I've given myself permission to not have to overthink it. Like there have been times in stores, I'll come around the corner and you almost bump into somebody, but you notice something about them and be like, "Wow, your eyes are beautiful," and then I just keep walking. And I love it when they've got the little mirrors up in the corner, for the aisles and stuff like that. And I'll say that, and I keep walking, and I'll watch them. They're like, did he just say my eyes are pretty? Yes, and I kept on walking, and I meant it. It was the first thing I noticed.
That was a present.
Yeah. Am I sitting there trying to, oh, your eyes are beautiful. Now stop here and talk with me. I want your phone number. No. But I think we're getting so starved for authentic attention that's why it's so important to understand how to achieve the ability of being present, even in your surroundings. Because there's so much stuff going on around us all the time. And sometimes it's a present to ourselves to shut off the channel. Just like, I get it, yes, quiet. There's stuff going on. I was talking with a dear friend of mine the other day, and I said, when's the last time you looked up at the clouds to see how many things you could see? Sadly, their answer was, it's been a long time. I was like, I do it all the time. I'm still that kid part of me is still very present. I'll look up at clouds and I'll see dragons, or I'll see a bear, or I'll see, and then if you got the time, you can sit there and watch it evolve into something else. But that's understanding that we are in this whatever it is to you, with life happening every click of every second. Elijah.
Hi again. So I have a technique for this as well, if you're interested.
Yes.
I'd like you to play along, if you wouldn't mind. Everybody just kind of pick a spot somewhere in front of you and just look at that spot, whatever it is. And you can do this while you're walking down the street. You can do it don't do it while you're driving, but everywhere else, right? And even that, don't do it initially while you're driving, but eventually you probably can, right? But yeah, you could be walking down the street, the spot could be the back of someone's head who's walking in front of you, or whatever, right? So you just kind of pick a spot, and as you continue to look towards that spot with your eyes focused straight ahead, you can kind of begin to expand your awareness out to the sides and start to notice things to either side, even though you're still looking straight ahead. Perhaps a wall or a window or some other part of the room that you're in right now. And just notice, as you expand that awareness further and further out, that even though you're still looking straight ahead, you can begin to pay attention to more and more and pick up more and more details of what's happening on the periphery, on the edges. And now just kind of bring yourself back from that. And let me ask you, as you were doing that, what happened to the internal dialogue in your head? Because the fact of the matter is, you cannot be internal and external at the same time.
Yes.
So once you use your eyes to bring your attention external, it will silence the dialogue inside, And so you can use that as a tool when the dialogue inside is not useful or toxic or unhelpful. Just start to pay attention to what's happening outside.
Yep.
And it's not just your eyes, you know. What was the sound that you weren't hearing that you can hear now? Etc., etc., etc.
Love that one. I'm so glad you brought it up. Yes. Another great exercise. And wow, we got 10 minis left. We're still on topic one. Seems to be a theme here. Any other input, ahas, epiphanies before I try and squeeze in 2 topics into the first hour? I think you guys will like this next one. This one I've seen a couple of times now show up on my feed, and it's the concept of the 4 burners of life, and we only have so much fuel to feed the burners. And those 4 burners are family, friends, health, and work. And to be mediocre at best, we can do our best to feed all 4 at once. It's quite exhausting. We don't accomplish near what we're capable of, but hey, we got all 4 of them burning. But the theory behind this one is to be successful, you have to sacrifice at least one for a while. And to be very successful, they say that typically you end up sacrificing 2. Again, family, friends, health, and work. And usually for people in their 20s, the first one that they'll turn the gas off to is their health. Oh, I'm young, strapping, I'm 6 foot tall and bulletproof, and I can burn the candle in 5 different locations and have fun and work and hang out with my friends and still be with my family. But if you want to be super successful, then you have to look at family, friends, health, and work. And a lot of people will either turn the gas off to health and family or family and friends. And when you look at these super successful people, there's enough evidence to make it true enough to be true. Elon Musk, we all know him. We all know that he's done some pretty miraculous things. But his ex-wives or baby mamas, whatever you want to call them, will tell you he was hyper-focused on work. And as far as family and health, that was a toss-up, and his friends were typically co-workers. So even that you could kind of say was kind of work. And so he put so much fuel into work that the rest suffered. Steve Jobs. There's so many of them. When you look at this theory now about the four burners, and my question, or the point I want to point out now, is at this point in your life, knowing that trying to feed four burners at once is pretty much not sustainable. Where is your balance? We're still at the age where we still have to work, we still have to pay the bills. Elijah, 6 burners? Yes, there are days. But the main 4 being family, friends, health, and work. Where do you notice now that you've turned the fuel down to be able to feed the other 3? To be able to make it through, to be able to live the lifestyle that you want to live. Anybody got any? Holly?
Oh, this one's hitting really hard for me. But my first thought is, I do think that, I mean, it may look like that on the surface, but my first thought is, I think it's also an illusion that the world tries to give us, and it's illusion that I have definitely fallen into many, many times. But I think the truth is, I mean, even if you do get success, what's it worth? How easily can you lose it? You know, there's always those factors going on too. But, you know, in the short term, yeah, maybe I can cut off my health and I can work and work and work and work and work. But eventually, by cutting off my health, I'm going to lose my energy. I'm going to lose my, you know, my good sleep. I'm going to lose all this. I'm not going to be able to focus at work. One of the thoughts that comes to my mind, you know, they talk about when you get in a flow state, you could be 500% more productive than if you're not in a flow state. And so, you know, are you doing quality time or quantity time?
There.
And a lot of times this idea of, and, you know, once again, I've bought into this so many different times, but I think this is the believing that quantity time is what is needed, rather than recognizing that quality time will get you way further.
And Elijah had put in the comments, that's exactly it. There are 5: family, friends, health, work, yourself. I think yourself is the stove, or whatever you want to equate as the housing for the burners and the supplier of the fuel. We only have so much fuel. I've watched people burn out a couple of times. I've had clients come to me and they are done. They are completely out of fuel. And usually it's because they are trying to feed all 4. They got a family that's demanding their time. They're trying to stay friends with people that are energy vampires. They've realized that their health was dropping, but they still got to pay the bills. And in the end, they just get burnt out. Mark?
Yeah, when Squirrel dropped off, when you were talking about that, my brain immediately went to Tom Brady. You know, he had acclaim as the greatest of all time, but he just couldn't quit. And he sacrificed. You know, he had a wife, a supermodel that loved him, that had, and wanted him to retire, and he just couldn't give up that. He just refused to give up that, and he ended up sacrificing his family.
Yes. Yep. You see it a lot in the super achievers. Or they know a lot of people, but you come to find out they have maybe 2 or 3 people that they call friends. They have tons of acquaintances, but they don't have time to manage or support friends. Yes, Holly, you're right. Tom Brady was a very accomplished American football quarterback. And Holly, you got your hand up.
I'll try to make this fast, but just a thought of, I believe all 4 burners can either require you to fuel them, or if you arrange it properly, they can fuel you. How do you have it set up?
Yep. And that's where the management of that fuel and the understanding of what you're up against is why I brought this up, because when I heard that theory for the first time, I went, wow, I know so many people that worked so hard to try to feed all 4 at once. And in the end, it cost them everything. They just couldn't sustain it. But that brings us 2 minutes past the top of the hour, and we got through 2 topics this time. But now, for those of you that joined us late, or it's first time watching the video and you skipped the intro, it's time for us to change gears. We're going to go into hour number 2, and that's where we turn it to open mic, open platform. Anybody on the call can bring up a question or a topic, and I let the people on the call answer first because I like to learn as well. So, who's got a question or a topic to get us rolling into hour number 2? And there's that pregnant pause. Oh, Holly. Yes, Holly, what do you got for us?
I mean, I've definitely got one. So I'm going to type something in the chat here real fast. So earlier this week, I was watching some videos, and they suggested in one of the videos I was watching that there are 2 personality types. And that personality type number 1, basically they organize what they're going to do, they decide what they're going to do, they're however you want to say it, based on importance, rewards, consequences, and time. And then there's a personality type number 2, which does it based on interest, novelty, challenge, urgency, and passion. So I have a couple questions. First of all, I'm just kind of curious, does this ring true to people? And if it does, which of the 2 types are you? And then, because I'm very interested in how to do habits, that sort of thing, how would you leverage these to get things done, to do sessions, however it may be? How can these possibly be used? What if I don't like your answer? I will learn from it then, won't I?
No. What if I don't like the answer
Oh.
of the type that I am?
Fair.
Because I think I'm type 1, but instinctively, as I thought that, I didn't like that I was type 1.
Interesting. Why don't you like that you're type? Because it's interesting you say that, because I think I'm type 2, and I don't like that I'm type 2. So it's kind of, I'm kind of interested here.
Yeah, I think I would much prefer or be further along if I did things that interested me or that were new and slightly pushing towards my lose the edge of my comfort zone rather than, following the concept of just doing what, either I've somehow concluded is important based on sometimes assumptions, and things like that. And I don't want to be a slave to like consequences and time and things like that. And I think when I'm reading those lists, I think that number 2 is a bit more freedom of expression-y, and the first one is a bit more rigid, and I don't like the idea of being rigid.
Fascinating. Thanks for sharing that.
I would say I'm probably type 2, definitely. There are days that I wish I was more type 1, but but I don't think I'd be anything different than what I am, in the end. I like interest, novelty, challenge, those are the hallmarks of my life, and and passion, definitely. So I think, depends on what you're, again, I think that, I think people are, I think people are both, in some points, or at least they seem to be, reward driven, consequence driven, time driven, importance driven. And I don't think they're having any fun. Type 2 people, I think, I think they're, I think, I'm always having a blast, so, and I get to follow my nose and my career, and, look for novelty, look for, new challenges, sometimes I have a sense of urgency, but, definitely a sense of passion. So, again, there are times that I would like to be, the other type, but I don't think I'd be anything more than I am,
Yep. And those that know me very well know my answer is I saw it. Depends. I'm the chameleon. I float and flip and do all sorts of funky stuff. So, Lenora.
I would say it depends. I think especially at least for me, um, as a woman, yes, I think it definitely depends on where I am. And I think it also really depends on the topic, because there are times where things come up and suddenly there's a lot of importance behind them because there's a lot of interest and it's new. Of course, there's going to be novelty in there. And then, things might slow down if it's too much of a challenge, or you might just continuously find a challenge if you're just really passionate about it. So I don't know. I think I would agree with TJ on this one. I rarely say it depends, but in this case, I think it definitely depends on the topic and on how important it is to you, and also how passionate you are about it. I mean, I never considered myself passionate about hypnosis. I consider myself passionate about personal growth, and I've been going on that one for almost 20 years. So those are my thoughts.
Yep. Anybody else got any?
Wait, sorry, did you say you are or you're not so passionate about hypnosis?
I think my definition of hypnosis has changed compared to what it was at mainstream. I now see everything as trance. And are you breaking the trance or are you enhancing the trance? Are you wanting more of this trance or are you wanting less of this trance? And finding ways to shift your perception if you're wanting to change it, or shift your perception if you're wanting to enhance it. So from that standpoint, I think this whole big, wonderful, wide floating rock of a blue marble is a trance, but I also think it's a simulation. That's what they call it. They also call it a realm. Like there's so many labels. It really just depends on which perspective you want to have at that moment in time, how you want to think of it.
Right. So you are or you're not?
I don't know.
That's the correct answer.
Yes.
Happy to make you smile,
Well,
Elijah.
again, I think that, building on what Laura said, is that if it is a simulation, it's a magical, mysterious simulation. And, we get to go play in it and that wonderland every day. But I'm wondering, to build on Holly's question, I wonder if people that are successful, however you want to define that, the driven individuals that TJ mentioned, I wonder if they're mostly type 1, and that's a question that popped up, if people are mostly type 1, is that going to lead to them becoming a more successful individual?
How do you define success, though?
Well, like you said, dreamers aren't very successful, but they are happy, they're joyous, but they don't spend a lot of time pursuing the almighty dollar, which is why I'll never be rich.
There was an interesting talk when I owned my photography studio that most professional photographers need to have an office manager, an investor, a business person, because they are so far into the creative mind that they don't spend enough time in the business mind. And that's why a lot of talented photographers don't make it. Because when they're in their creative, they have a hard time finding people that can successfully do both at the same time.
Most famous artists died broke.
Yeah. Yep. Lived and thrived in the creative mind. Didn't have somebody that could take that and bring it to the masses in a business mind.
Which is why during the Renaissance, most the great masters, Bernini, Da Vinci, they had patrons. They had
Yes.
business-minded people.
People who saw what they were capable of, and that was them meeting the business minds. They weren't both. They were the creatives who were discovered and supported by the business minds. Another way to look at the 2-point split. Anybody else got any ahas, epiphanies on that? Is it time for did you get the answer you were looking for, Holly?
Yeah, it was an interesting conversation. Thank you, everyone.
And Mr. V put in an interesting comment, because both of us have a background in photography studio, and he put in digital killed the photography businesses. Yes, they did. We I lovingly, respectfully call him Mr. V, Mr. Verigi. That's how long we've known each other, and we discussed many times about the photographers now with digital, where they can go and shoot sessions with 900 shots in hopes of having 2 or 3 that are somewhat acceptable. And those of us that had to rely on realizing that every time we clicked the shutter back in the day ran about $1.25 per click. And you didn't find out if you did a good shot for a while. It certainly wasn't click, close, click, 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 click. Yeah, I think one of these will work. And yeah, these two back here, if you guys knew what they cost back in the day, you'd understand why back in the day we had to charge $25 for an 8x10 to keep the lights on. And so it's sad for those of us who, and Mr. V had a lot more training than I did. I got thrown into the fire, out of the frying pan right into the blazing fire, and had to earn my credentials in a very short time. So I respect the people that were at the top back then, because I experienced what it took to get there. And Elijah's comment, yeah, if it didn't, AI is certainly trying to kill the photography business, because man, some of this, now you just go, yeah, paint me a picture of, and if you can describe it, boom, print. So there's that as well. And I think we're back to Michael. Yes.
Okay, since we're back to the thing, I was wondering, your topic number 3 was transplants.
Transplants, yes.
So are you thinking transplants or transplants?
Yes.
What is your
exactly.
idea of transplants?
Are you asking me to do my topic from the first hour, or?
Yeah, I'm saying let's bring it up. Let's see what we got.
Okay, well, the transplant came from the fact that I've got 4 acres, 2 acres are heavily wooded. And so we've been finding some desirable trees back in the back part of the property, and my wife has a nice flower garden and had some trees popping up there. And so I've been transplanting them, but the desirable ones. And today, as I was transplanting another mulberry tree, I right after I transplanted it, I walked back through the back 2 acres wondering what else would I transplant. And it got me to thinking about our thoughts and our personalities. We have the ability to find a personality that we like and transplant it into our garden, tend to it, and make it grow. we also have undesirables that are growing in our garden or in our property, whatever we want to call it, that are robbing the ground of nutrients. One little joke that I heard was, how do you tell the difference between a flower and a weed? Pull it out. If it comes out really easy, it was a flower. Here in Texas, there are a lot of cypress growing. And there are people that like cypress, but the guys in the tree industry call them the Texas weed. They grow very quickly, shallow root system, and they end up killing the prize trees, the oaks, and things of that nature, because they'll grow next to an oak because they like the shade from the Texas heat. But their root system is shallow and wide. So anytime there's rain, the cypress will suck up all of the nutrients and all of the rain before it ever gets a chance to get down to the roots of the oak. And in a matter of time, it will kill the oak. And so when I was thinking of transplants, how many thoughts do we have that are like the cypress that can sneak in? They look good, but they've got a shallow root system, and they have the ability to suck up the nutrients that are meant for the strong, sturdy lifetime events. And now with fake news and fake fake book and all of the other fake social media where everybody's planting all of these fast-growing, shallow root ideas and thought processes, how do you prevent yourself from giving them the nutrients and the time? And yes, Mike, well said in the comments, enter overthinking. And comparison. I look at overthinking and comparison as an absolute weed, fast growing, vigorous. It'll take over a beautiful flower garden in a very short amount of time. The flowers may still be there, but they are hidden from the canopy of the weeds. And if they're left in the garden long enough, they will kill the flowers. So that was transplants. Anybody got any ahas, inputs, epiphanies on that one? Holly.
This is going to be really random, but where my mind was going with that, I just started thinking about grafting. If anybody doesn't know what that is, you may all know what it is, but it's where you take a branch from one tree and you basically put it on the other tree and it becomes a part of that tree. And I remember the first time somebody showed it to me, I thought they were joking. It's one of the most bizarre things that shouldn't be possible anyway. But I just started thinking about how, grafting is kind of like when we create our tribe, our, family of choice, shall we say. So you may have come from a tree that you don't particularly like, but once you get grafted onto that tree of choice, It gives you a chance. I was looking at the advantages of grafting and the disadvantages. So the advantages, it gives them a chance to have more variety, obviously, to preserve certain things, but also it says that it's more disease resistant. There's all sorts of good sides. But on the flip side, you have to be careful because if you invite the wrong branch onto the tree, it could take over if it's not pruned properly. And so I was just kind of thinking about that, of the importance of our tribe. And when we select our tribe, are you selecting a tribe that's, protecting each other and protecting each other from diseases and giving each other more variety, more understanding? Or are you letting that improperly pruned branch into your tribe and letting it take over you? What are you choosing in your tribe? Which is, like I said, kind of a totally random thing, but it just made me think of that when you were talking about the different plants as well.
I didn't, well, right in line with that, I'm so glad you brought it up. My squirrels are freaking out right now. I didn't realize that mistletoe
Yeah.
is a dangerous parasite on trees, especially oak trees. We got it here. The neighbor had a beautiful, beautiful, huge oak tree. And the first winter that we were here, I looked up and I saw these green clusters on there after all of the oak leaves had fallen off, and I didn't know what it was. And second year, winter hit again, and there were double the amount of these green clusters. And I hosted a class here, and one of my students looked up and said, "Wow, that tree's got a lot of mistletoe." And I'm thinking, oh, cool, mistletoe. Yeah, okay, we can pick some and everybody can, we can all kiss under the mistletoe. But that summer, I noticed that the tree was not looking very healthy. And that winter, there was even more mistletoe in it. And the next summer, that tree was virtually dead, and we had to cut it down this summer, actually this late fall, because it was gone. It had destroyed that tree that quickly. And we just invested a good chunk of money to have arborists out here to our property, because I started looking around and noticing it had gotten into our oak trees. And we needed to protect our oak trees and try and get it cut out before it took over our property. And such as with the stuff that people are ingesting on the news channels and social media and all that stuff, it doesn't take long before an invasive thought infects a number of people. And so you have to be careful, tend to your property, tend to your garden, be careful of what seeds fall in there. And recognize what is undesirable, what is dangerous, even if it looks pretty. Like I say, the very first winter that I saw that tree with those green clusters, thought nothing of it. Second time, somebody finally pointed out that it was mistletoe, and I was like, oh, cool. Because I didn't realize what mistletoe does to trees. So that's part of transplant. Any other ahas, inputs, epiphanies? Oh, Mark put a great quote, To quote Batman and Catwoman, mistletoe can be deadly if you eat it. So can a kiss if you mean it. Yes. So did that suffice you, Michael, or anybody else got any
That was
input?
good.
Cool. Well, then that means we need.
I was just wondering what type of transplants you were talking about, because we were talking about the trees earlier this week, but you never know. Like, okay, transplants. Is he talking about like heart transplants, kidney transplants? Where's he going?
And we can run off that. What would you what angle would you like to introduce off of that?
Well, I kind of liked what Holly said about grafting, because grafting is really cool, and you can do some really neat things. And when you bring, like for example, our group, we bring different people in, and sometimes it's a fit, and sometimes it's not. But it's still fantastic that we can do that and experiment.
I've seen those trees where the tree produces was oranges, lemons, and limes off of the same tree.
Yep, we have one
Ah,
over my in-laws. Yeah, they just got one. It's crazy.
yeah, you're like, what? Cool. Well, I guess we need another topic. Who's got a question or a topic? We got 29 minis left. And I know some of you have a book full of questions and topics. So thumb through it quick. Let's see what you got. Mark.
I'll throw one out there that you had mentioned earlier, um, about credentials. And the question is, how really important are they? I know you need credentials to, kind of get started, but once I completed my master's degree, that's when I really started to learn.
Yeah, it's true.
And so I don't know. I don't know how, again, the question is, how important are credentials? Are they the be all and end all? Is that the end of your training, or you just keep doing what you were trained to do, or do you grow beyond it? Well, that's my question.
Yeah. Great question. Who's got an answer? Really? Come on, kid. Oh, Holly.
Oh man, this is a topic that I may go too long. I will see how long I might jump in and out and in and out. But so taking credentials, I think there's several layers here. So the first question is, I think there's a difference between experience and instruction.
There.
And the credential often will tell you you've had instruction. But then the thing is, the next question I go to is, how much of that instruction is based on experience? So if you have to go back 10 teachers before you have a teacher that has experience, I think it's a very different situation than if you have a teacher who's been out in the middle of it recently and has been learning from experience. But the other thought that came to my mind is how much of the thing that you're doing is human based. It's created by humans versus how much of it is just being out there and getting something done. So, for example, if you're a lawyer, the whole legal system is human based. And so human instruction is going to tell you how to navigate this human system. If you're an accountant, that whole system was created by humans. It's a legalized system. If you don't follow the human rules, you're not doing it right. But if you're an engineer and you go out there, either what you make works or it doesn't work. So, I think there's going to be a very big difference between how important credentials are in a human-made system where humans made the rules and you better follow them, versus something that if you go out there, it either works or it doesn't work. I'll also throw this out there though too. I think credentials are somebody else vouching for you. They are signing off on the fact that yes, you've done this work and I've watched it. And so a lot of it, once again, is going to depend on who's teaching you. Because if the person who's teaching you takes it very seriously and they take you under their wing and they really monitor what you're learning, that's way more meaningful than, I'm kind of thinking of martial arts. That's way more meaningful than I think David calls them the what? I can't remember what he calls them, but basically the karate thing that you show up, you're going to get your belts, you're going to get your certifications just because you showed up, So like there's a big difference between who gave you the credential and also what you're using the credential for. But I do
Right.
believe that even in the real world, even with human-made stuff, if you don't have experience, do you want the surgeon that's operating on you who has 1,000 hours of, and hopefully it's more, but let's make it more, 50,000 hours of school experience or 50,000 hours of cutting people apart?
Yeah.
I think that right there will tell you a lot.
Yeah, search for sale. Pay me some money, I'll print you a certificate. I've seen plenty of them and dealt with that a lot. Elijah.
For me, it depends on which side of the transaction you're on. If I have a leaky tub, then I want to call a plumber who has some credentials, right? But if I'm a plumber and I know I can do the work, then the credentials I have are not so important to me. They're more just to show people and to drum up the business. So for me, I think it really depends on which side of the transaction you're on, how much weight goes on the credentials. Like I have thousands of hours worth of hypnosis under my belt, maybe even 10,000 plus at this point. I have, I don't know how many certificates, I lost count, right? But none of them are actually important to me. Some people want to see, right? And they want to know that I've done the work and that I've put in the hours. And many of my certificates do say on them that this certifies that he's completed X number of hours of training, right? So, but it's not so important to me. It's more for other people. So it kind of depends on which side of the transaction you're on.
Yeah, 100%. I've some of you know that I've owned thank you, Fran. Your presence,
Thank you, Frank.
yeah. I'll take 2 minutes of your smile and makes my day. So thank you. I appreciate you. But a number of you may know that for many years I've been around the building and construction trades and owned a maintenance company for 15 years. And I have met people that have all these wonderful certs, and I wouldn't let them build a doghouse for me. Oh, I did this and I did that. I had one guy that was a union electrician. And so I looked at his cert and I was thinking, cool, he can help me troubleshoot this electrical issue that I had. And I realized all he knew was how to pull wire in brand new construction, how to terminate, and this is not a slam on the electrical so for those of you that are union electricians, stop typing, chill.
No, type, comment,
Yeah,
engage with the video.
yeah. Well, the guy had no troubleshooting skills whatsoever. All he knew was how to run brand new wire in brand new construction. I, on the other hand, don't have certs in that realm. But owning a handyman company, you have to be the plumber, the electrician, the construction expert, the roofer, the all the above. But you don't get the credit for it because you don't have a piece of paper for each one of those skill sets. Mine was learned on the construction sites, asking questions of the people that have been doing it for years, working alongside the masters. And I actually had one job where we were building packaging machinery. And the first year that I was there, the guys on the floor didn't know what my certs were. And so I was helping them come up with solutions for these massive machines to get them to work. And I can claim I have at least 9 of my ideas working on these big machines. And then one of them found out that I do not have a degree in engineering. And just like that, my input meant nothing. Because I didn't have a cert, but it was good enough when they did not know that. Option lost. Now, there are certain places where I want to make sure people have certs. If it's a doctor, I want to see your certs. I want to know you went to a couple of different, you've been studying this for a while and you are highly qualified in this. But others, I would actually prefer on-the-job training. I would actually prefer real life experience more than a piece of paper hanging on a wall. Show me what you can do. Any other comments? Holly.
This is kind of a follow-up question to that question. But what, in most cases, seem to be the difference between testimonials and credentials in a lot of cases? I'm just kind of curious what people's input is on that.
Yeah. Who's got an answer for Holly?
Testimonials, in my mind, let's preface this, in my mind, testimonials, assuming they are real
Yes.
and not faked, are proof of work completed, whereas credentials are just proof of, again, assuming it's not just like a handout certificate, and they're proof of hours spent in tuition of some sort, and perhaps an exam or a test of some kind. So again, going back to my previous answer about which side it's on, like, I think testimonials are better, like real testimonials are better because it's proof of the work rather than proof of having learned how to do the work. But that's my own personal bias.
And I completely agree, Elijah, because you and I both have a folder of what I call wallpaper. yes, you see some behind me, and not all of it are certs. Some of it's just different stuff that I'm proud of. But again, I've seen people with uh, we've both, a number of us have seen people that went to classes that were by a cert. As long as you pay them some money, they'll print out a cert for you, and when you're done, they don't know squat, but they got a piece of paper. Mark.
Um, Couple thoughts about Dr. David Snyder. First of all, he said he basically defined people that are what is it, the tribe of the chronically overtrained.
Yes.
And those are people who, they just gather certifications and, again, but he did, getting back to Holly's question, he did ask for a testimonial, and based on what he asked, when I went through his trainings, I'm not done yet, but he asked for a testimonial, and my testimonial said that, the things that he's taught me added to the model that I already had of how to help people was very useful, and I use his stuff just about every day. And he had some value. There was a lot of value in his trainings, and I had to fit it into my model of experience. And I think I made a synergistic synthesis of how I had been trained, my experience, and what he provided, in his teachings. So so I was more than happy to write him a testimonial that to that effect, that I had, incorporated a lot of his teachings into my private practice, and that he had a profound effect on how I do what I do.
Yep.
So I consider that to be a testimonial, Holly.
Right on. Time to go. All right, dear. Thank you for showing up.
A little bit late, but I'm here.
Very cool.
Minus a tooth.
Well, we've been there.
Yeah.
Renee put in the comments, experience carries more weight than certification. Certifications show you passed a course. Testimonials are proof of performance. And looks like Michael's got a bounce too. Thanks for showing up, brother.
Oh, Fran.
Oh, adios, Fran. Okay. Checking. But yes, that's why testimonials are so important when you're building a business. Because again, that's the word of mouth proof of work completed, not accumulation of a piece of paper. I mean, I know some people that have graduated college with a wonderful piece of paper, and after you hang out with them for a while, you realize they're dumb as a rock. Yes, Mike, social media groups can make or break a business, which is the dangerous part in this day and age. Cancel culture, oh my. Oh, we didn't agree with you, now we're going to rally up a bunch of people to tear you down. Your opinion isn't the same as ours, so it doesn't matter that you provide a great service to the rest of the world. We don't like you, so we're gonna make sure that you're silenced, regardless of experience. Lenora.
I think something that is also important, what's the outcome that you want? What are you looking for?
Yes.
So, for example, there are people who I know who specifically seek out people who are not what most would consider a medical doctor because they don't want that person to have gone through schooling because they have a specific thought process. They want somebody who is maybe holistically trained or has a different approach or who not just walks the walk, but they talk the talk. So ultimately, what's the outcome that you're wanting? So if it's for your certificate, if it's for you and you're saying, I want to make sure that it is conveyed that I have been properly trained and that I help people because I have people that have verified that I have worked with them, that would be the distinction. I love that TJ mentioned that there are tons of things that he's helped people with and he wasn't necessarily certified. I think that's, really a good thing depending on are they able to get the job done and can they do it safely and effectively? For example, I know Elijah, I had Elijah walk me through a couple of processes in the past and never once did I ask Elijah, like, show me your papes or show me your testimonials because it didn't matter to me. I love what he shared even earlier about the patterning of how he delivers and how he very specifically adds in pauses. And if you ever take a class by Elijah, which I highly recommend, he'll share with you some more insights. And I find it absolutely fascinating. And never once have I asked him to send me the PDF of his certifications because he's somebody who walks the walk and talks the talk. I think that's really important. And I'm quite sure Duncan, for as much as the man knows, I don't think anybody's ever come to him and be like, show me how you can do a VHS refurbishment and prove it.
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, I think you're welcome, Elijah. I think Mike, it does sound like a testimonial. What are you wanting to convey? So for example, I got a number of certifications, and back in the day, if you go back to like triple T's and the first few, you saw my office was totally different. And then at some point you saw a lot of wallpaper on the wall because it was very important to me to show people that I had certifications, even though they couldn't see it. It was really important to me, which goes to show you as we close the loop from earlier that I really was thinking about myself. And I don't think about that anymore. And quite honestly, they're in frames and collecting dust somewhere here or in the garage. Testimonials. I don't have them posted on like, here, look what somebody said about me. If people want to see them, they can see them. They can go track them down. What is it that you're wanting to share if it's from that perspective? So I know you have such a beautiful logo, Holly, and you have such a beautiful business. So if it's partly thinking that or just kind of like an open discussion, I'm not sure which one. But I do also think it depends on who you're sharing with. Like if you go to the website, you'll see lots of different stuff. If you go to my YouTube page, you'll see totally different stuff than what's on my website. So really, what is it that you're wanting people to know and how are you wanting to share? And it also depends on what platform that you're wanting to share on. It depends again. Damn it. And Childers messaged me on private and he's like, did you just say depends? Yes.
I remember when we first met and a bunch of questions were coming up, and those that know me, my brain works in so many different directions that they'll ask me a question. I'm like, depends. And they're like, can't you just give me an answer? Well, it depends. Let me show you about 3 different scenarios. And they're like, oh, That's the joys of living life and having experiences. You have the ability to see many different facets for an answer. And that brings us down to 5 minis. So, any other ahas, epiphanies, inputs? Mark.
Yeah, on one wall in my office, I have, over my desk, I have all the certifications. But on one wall by itself, I have I guess you'd call it a testimonial. It was a letter of recommendation written by a buddy of mine who's a psychiatrist. And, and in that testimonial recommendation, he said some very kind things about me. And
You get anything good?
I'm sorry.
Oops.
I
Sorry.
think
And
he
he was,
accidentally came off mute.
Sorry.
and I, but that's the thing I'm proudest of is that letter on the wall from Dr. Smith that, I guess I guess it's a testimonial, and, when other people recognize your worth, I think that's a testimonial, whereas certification, like somebody was saying earlier, yeah, you went, took a course, you memorized enough stuff to get a passing grade and you got a certificate, whereas if other people recognize your worth, I think that's more significant.
Yep.
That and referrals. Referral is another form of testimonials. I've when I had my maintenance company in San Diego, I didn't advertise. It was all referrals, word of mouth, me meeting people in Home Depot and helping them out. Not like, if I help you out, you got to hire me. It was just offering assistance and then providing a good job and having them refer me out. So, yes, again, there are certain jobs where I want to know that they have a certification. When I get on the plane, I would like to know. I'm not going to check it, but I'm pretty sure whoever hired the pilot probably checked their certifications. But when I go to the restaurant, I'm not worried about a certification about the guy that's making me making my supper. I'm gonna give him a certification when I'm done eating by word of mouth and whether or not I'm going to come back. And Mike, yes, I did a lot of that too. Mike put in the comments, I give 5 business cards to all my inspections, 1 to keep, 4 to hand out. Yes, very smart. Even when I had my photography studio, I had 3 different business cards printed at the same time because each one had different sets of photographs that I had taken. And so I would have them put together in clusters of 3, and when I would meet somebody, or if I was handing out a business card, I would give them a set of 3 and say, keep your favorite and hand out the other 2 if you would, please. And that, in a way, was my certification because they could see my work right there on the card. So, But that brings us right up to the top of the hour. How quickly this goes by. So I want to thank you guys so much for once again 223 in a row. Who knows how many more we got to go, but I can't do this without you guys because I just would look like somebody who's just blabbing by myself. So thank you. I appreciate every one of you for taking your precious commodity of time and offering it up on this platform so that we can hopefully help other people out. If you know somebody that would benefit from what we shared here, please share this video. For those of you on YouTube, I get to say, love you, Mom. And I will see the rest of your beautiful smiling faces back here in 7 glorious days. Until then, go out and enjoy life as much as you can. Give as many people compliments as possible. Give them your presents. Give them the present of your presence. And if there's anything I can do to help any of you, please let me know. Till then, love y'all.
And if they don't have a smile, give them yours. It's free.
Yes.
TTFN, happy Passover.
All right. See you
Thanks.
guys.
Thank you,
guys.
everyone. Thank you,
Good seeing everybody.
TJ.
Adios.
Cheers.